Welcome back here. Last call. Nathaniel Finch with Jake Kiefer. We just talked about UINDY sports, college football. Now let's talk about professional football, the NFL. The Colts here in Indianapolis, they traveled to Jacksonville, a team that they have not been able to beat in quite a while. It's been since 2014 since they've beat Jacksonville on the road. And unfortunately, that streak is going to continue because they lost 24-0. Let's take a look at the highlights. Of course, that's if you can call these highlights. Not much going down in Duval County as the Colts just not able to get anything going, eventually losing 24-0. Much of this here throughout the rest of the game was just Matt Ryan throwing interceptions. Get rid of those highlights. There were none. The Colts could not get anything on tape, and just a big disappointment in Jacksonville, a team that you should beat.
Well, I think we have to move past Jacksonville being the redheaded stepchild, I guess.
They got the first overall pick the last 2 years.
I understand that, but I think that this defense is a legitimate defense. Now, granted, I don't want to hear anything from the let Matty Ice cook crowd. I don't think he has any of that left in the tank. You know, he threw so many interceptions. There were just so many offensive mistakes for the Colts that I think the Jaguars capitalized on very well, and their offense really got going as well.
I love Frank Reich. Don't get me wrong. He's been one of my favorite coaches for the last few years. But dating back to a couple losses last year, there was the Bucs comeback, there was when the Patriots almost came back, and then when they lost to the Jaguars, Jonathan Taylor just did not get the ball nearly enough. And that was the same here. He was only 8 or 9 carries. He ended up doing pretty well with those carries, but when you don't feed the best running back in the NFL of football, you're not going to win a lot of games. You can't rely on Matty Ice and whoever you can pull off your practice squad because your top 2 receivers were hurt. You need to run the ball, especially against a team like this. You need to let the best, maybe one of the best players in the NFL feast, and they just didn't. They didn't the last few losses last year as well.
Yeah, you know, it was just a tough showing all around. Defense didn't look good either. I mean, it really calls into question what, you know, Frank Reich and Chris Ballard are really thinking about when it comes to drafting, when it comes to, I mean, just staffing the team, bringing players up from the practice squad, as you mentioned.
You've got guys like Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, that is, who were both hurt this game. It's week 2, and you're already banged up as a team. That's definitely not where you want to be at this point in the season. Not much you can control in that regard, though. But the fact that they go throughout the offseason, you go through training camp, you go through preseason, you say, we've got Michael Pittman Jr. and we've got Alec Pierce, and we're happy with that at the receiver corps. We don't need to upgrade. We don't need to bring anybody in. We're happy with those 2. They're down in week 2, and now it really makes you look like a fool throughout the whole offseason with all this capital that they have. I know Ballard keeps saying, oh, we got to pay our own guys. But you got to pay somebody to come in and make plays for you. And if you're not going to hand the ball to your running back, you need to have talent there for Matt Ryan to try to work with. They just haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of needing talent to work with your quarterback, my Ravens really lost a close one to the Dolphins, Nathaniel, and I'm just going to let you handle this one because I don't see any point in it.
A great game at the Ravens. Let's take a look at that one from Baltimore. Let's take a look at the highlights. It started off pretty well, and heck, how about the start for Mike McDaniel, the head coach, new head coach here for this Dolphins team. It started off very well for the Ravens, though. It was Devin Duvernay. And what a start he had on this kickoff return. He's going to take it from a few yards deep into the end zone, but he's going to take it all the way to the other side of the field into the end zone for a 103-yard kickoff return. That's going to put the score 7-0 before any offensive plays are even played. What a start for Baltimore and Devin Duvernay, who, Jake, you mentioned as a sneaky fantasy pick. You see him running across the screen here. Not going to get the ball in this play. Instead, Rashad Bateman, one of the new receivers for this team in the last couple of years, a young buck who's running his way down for a 75-yard touchdown. That's going to bring the score 14-7 in the second quarter. Now let's shoot ahead to the third quarter. This time 28-7. Tua to Mike Gesicki, 14 yards for a touchdown. That's going to bring this game a little bit closer, but really dominated by the Ravens early throughout the first 3 quarters. Still, 28-14 now the score after Gesicki gets both feet in bounds at the end of that 14-yard touchdown. How about this? Lamar Jackson, the play of the day. He takes this one and, just like he always does, runs past everybody on defense. How about the speed of Lamar? Pay the man. Give him $280 million. Give him $300 million guaranteed if he wants. You need to give him what he deserves because –
give him all of it.
Exactly. Give him all of it. That play with a lot of record-breaking significance. We'll get to that later. Here we've got 35-21. The comeback starting. Tyreek Hill open in the end zone. A bit underthrown, but does not matter. Put 6 more up on the board. What a throw from Tua Tagovailoa to Tyreek Hill. He's going to do it again right here. This time to tie the game up at 35-21. Tua wide open, streaking down the field. You've got a pair of track stars on your team at wideout, and there you see one of them feasting on this Ravens secondary, who's supposed to be one of the better ones in the league personnel-wise. And Tua just makes a great strike to tie this game up at 35. This was with about 5 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. Then Lamar trying to get the team just in field goal range. It's a tie game, trying to get some points up on the board. They do so here with the automatic Justin Tucker from 51 away. Give him a 3-point lead with 2 minutes and 18 seconds to go. There's a flag on the play, but unnecessary for this time. Still now down by 3 are the Dolphins. Finding Tyreek Hill again, this time over the middle of the field, this time getting into field goal range, which if you kick a field goal from here, you tie the game up. That's not what they're thinking here. Chase Edmonds, 45 seconds to go, and he races to the sideline. How about this? All the way towards the boundary inside the 10 before he's brought down. They're going to let the clock roll all the way inside of 20 seconds. Now, with just a little bit time left on the clock, Tagovailoa, what a game he had. His sixth touchdown pass of the day, gets the second one in the hands of Waddle there, who had himself a great day as well, 171 yards through the air, and the go-ahead score to give the Dolphins the win that they were looking for. Unfortunately, Jake, against your Ravens, not quite how you expected the game to go. It was a game of really a whole weekend of comebacks. We saw a lot of teams come back from those big deficits, and there the Dolphins just did a great job coming back from that 35 to 14 point deficit in the fourth quarter.
I mean, Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle all played out of their minds, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
They played very well, both Tyreek and Jalen with 11 receptions apiece, both over 170 yards receiving, both with 2 touchdowns. Yeah. 2 with 6 touchdowns. I think we also have to accept that that the Dolphins might be like the Jags in the sense that they stunk for so many years straight, but now they're getting back to being good.
Let's take a look now at Lamar Jackson. How impressive was he? Not only had 318 passing yards, he had 3 touchdowns, but 9 rushes, 119 yards and a touchdown. That gives him over 100 yards for the 11th time in his career, in only his 5-year career. That breaks a record for him. Now he is the only quarterback with over 10 100-yard rushing games at the quarterback position. Very impressive.
Yeah, and his career just started. I mean, pay the man. Pay the man, Shirley, please. That's what the Ravens need. I know that me personally as a fan, I don't care how much money you give. Give him $500 million. Give him a Patrick Mahomes deal. I mean, you got to lock him down for 8-10 years.
We're going to take a quick look at a few scores. It was the Bengals-Cowboys. Cowboys won that game 20-17. A big comeback for the Bengals, but they fell short. And then the Bucs and the Saints, they played. Tom Brady, notoriously 0-4 against the Saints in the regular season, finally gets his first win. 20-10 was that score. It was 3-3 in the fourth quarter, and they were able to come back and win that game in what was really a slow start for Brady, a frustrating start. Bit of a fight broke out. Not really a whole lot there. Let's go ahead and take a look at this fight here as Tom Brady kind of instigated a fight and got his teammate Mike Evans suspended. We'll just take a quick look here, but not really what you want if you're the Bucs, but you can't blame Evans, right?
No, I mean, any time that Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans are in the same place at the same time, something's bound to happen. Now, in this case, I think Mike Evans is in the right, standing up for his quarterback, just like Leonard Fournette did and a couple offensive linemen as well. I mean, you got to have Tom Brady's back when he's in that situation.
Couple notable scores, some comebacks from this weekend, as we had mentioned earlier. Big weekend of comebacks in both NFL and college football, including for UINDY, like we mentioned. But the Jets came back 31-30, the win over the Browns in Cleveland. The debut.
Joe Flacco cooking.
He sure was, coming back from the grave. And of course, you've been a Ravens fan, a big Joe Flacco guy. But how about this? They are the only team since 2001. That was the Bears back in 2001 that were able to come back from down 13 with 2 minutes to go. Had a great game, and really the Browns just a couple clock management issues. I know how that feels as a Broncos fan these last couple games. But a couple other scores. Cardinals got the big win, 29-23. Came back against the Raiders, took that in overtime. Scoop and score by Byron Murphy to win the game. Cardinals with a big win there. And then the Rams stopped the comeback bid. They were ahead 28-3 against the Falcons. Of course, that score very familiar between Falcons fans. But the Falcons started to come back, tried to get it done, and said final score there, 31-27. Let's step aside and take a quick break. Then we'll get right into Monday Night Football before we finish. Last call.